So what,
Good morning, and welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other. This morning, we're so grateful for Marla Koupal, is that how you
yes.
pronounce your
Mhm.
name? To be presenting a topic that I so dreaded, but it's a good thing because she's the expert. Selling is just a conversation that makes it sound so easy. So, Marla, thank you again for coming here and tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and why you decided to choose this topic.
Well, I've chosen this topic because I've taught sales for many, many years, and I was always mystified. I started selling it. Uh, let's. I had a job that involved selling starting at 19. I think I was selling before that. Okay, but that was the first job that required some selling. Uh, that people have made selling a boogeyman. They've said that they want to be safe all the time. So every behavior that they've created, whether it's, and I don't mind passive marketing, okay, but passive marketing and emails, and I'm just sharing, everybody's speaking in terms of how they can be safe. And there is no risk in selling. The risk is not showing up as yourself. So people start hiding who they are instead of being who they are. And if you will be who you are, you will have a larger audience and a larger buying audience. Now, that's just one of my beliefs. So I've sold since I was 19. I was selling housing in Santa Barbara, where I went to college, and I got my room and board for my junior and senior year selling private housing. And in those days, I hit my Jubilee year this year, and the selling was to just women living in a apartment complex with amenities and cafeteria, et cetera, et cetera. And when the parents showed up every spring, you sold to the parents, but you sold to the girl. And you had to talk about safety and all the things that was. And here you're 20 years old, and you're selling to parents, and you're selling to the girls. And you know what? It just worked for me. And so what I did as I continued in other jobs that I had that all involved selling, I started looking at human behavior. I started looking at trends and patterns that people have. People actually have buying behaviors that are hardwired. They're neurologically hardwired at birth. And I go into that in other trainings. But over time, those get amended. But when a buyer is at a point of stress, they will revert to that style. And it's a very simple style. Everybody just has to learn, how does a buyer buy? They have a pace for making their decision. It's either methodical or it's fast. And they're either focused more on the people that they're involved with or the people they want to serve when they're making their decisions, or they're focused on the task at hand. What can I get done now? And when you can really fully associate yourself as a seller with each of those buying styles, you'll adapt your conversation. And so I go off on tangents. We started out this when I believe you were talking about, I don't know how to reframe this. You were talking about the beginning of sales and how everybody has impressions of it. But there's three distinctions that I'd like to share. And that is, there is a presentation type of sell. So let's say I was going into a corporation and going to make a presentation. I've investigated the corporation. I've probably discovered from a number of people what their pain point already is. I don't go into it as a discovery call. I go into it as I already know this, you already know this, we've had this discussion, and here's the solution. So that's how you go into a presentation call. The word pitch that everybody uses about sales are one of those situations in which a pitch is a little bit of banter designed to see if it sticks. So imagine throwing spaghetti on a wall. Well, that's what a pitch is. Or the pitcher in baseball throwing the baseball. It's like, is somebody going to catch it? So a pitch is actually a crapshoot type of selling style. And with all the marketing you see online nowadays, everybody says whether you have a funnel or you're doing a post or whatever, those are all pitches. You're trying to see, can I hook somebody? And hook's not a negative word. It's just, can I get your attention? Can I get your attention? However, people don't know how to transition out of can I get your attention into let's have a conversation. So selling is a conversation. And that means you have to sit there as a person in a conversation and not feel like you're obligated to give answers, obligated to make a sale, obligated. We want the sale. I'm not going to deny that. We want the sale. But don't start any conversation with a I have to, or will I? Because if you have that voice running in your head, will I make the sale? Oh God, I gotta have this conversation. I gotta win. Da, 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 da. You will automatically disconnect from your buyer and find yourself in a position of no success. So I like to teach people that sales is a conversation. And so how do you have that conversation? You create the buying space. Have you ever thought of sales as creating a buying space? Yeah, and you're welcome to interrupt me. I'm the type of presenter that I will take a question, or you can type it in if you want, but I don't mind interruptions. But so creating a buying, so I got to this point of creating a buying space when I had to train my own selling team when I had my property management company in Bakersfield. And they would all get intimidated by people for various reasons. And I just started going, well, why is that I naturally can do this? And I started putting some logic to some of it and some patterns. I'm a person who, luckily, I've observed patterns my whole life and then figured things out. And so I could see where my employee was having trouble with someone because they were that methodical thinker, and they would get a fast talker just beating on them and verbally, not beating on them or insulting them, but just verbally coming at them, and they felt attacked. And then there's people like me who make decisions very, very quickly. And we sat there, and it was painful sometimes to watch people go through their decision-making process. But we all have to, in sales, get to a neutral place where we do not have an opinion about how the person's behavior is, but how we are going to deal with that behavior. So the safest way to initiate a sales conversation and to create a buying environment is to really let that person that you're working with know you're there for them emotionally and that it is your intention to bring them value. So you do that really simply. This is the reason everybody talks about open-ended questions, but everybody leaves this part of the story out. They have forgotten this is why they do it. So this is why a lot of people blow it when they're asking open-ended questions, because they see it as their point of getting enough information to manipulate. And I'm not saying everybody has the intention to manipulate. I'm just basically putting that in a perspective that it's like, if you're asking open-ended questions to say, aha, I gotcha. You don't do that. But you would say, so like I could say, if somebody was asking me for sales coaching, I might say, well, tell me what your experience is with selling. That's an open-ended question. I want to know, where are they? I want to hear their voice. I want to know the words they use. I want to know what it is. And you know what? Most of them, if I ask that question, they're hung up on one thing: the worst conversation they ever had, the one that humiliated them, or the one that frustrated them endlessly, and they just felt awful afterwards. And so the challenge is to move everybody into what was successful for you. So, that's another way you can do it. So emotions will run high. So open-ended questions will start helping you understand the core of why they're there. So let's make this simple. Let's say we're all selling products at a trade show, and somebody comes up and they say, what do you have? Most people will go into their pitch, stop, And even though it's pressure up, trade show's hard, right? Everybody's got this belief, I got to make something happen in 60 seconds. No, you don't. You have to decide, how many people will I walk away? How many leads will I walk away this weekend? I don't want a list of people. I want people who know me, because my products that I used to sell required a relationship because they were expensive products. So I'd say, well, what did you see that made you stop at this booth? I watched them look at the sign. I watched them look at the other sign. I watched them touch something. It's like, I want to know what's going on in their head. My head doesn't count at this point. And so I say, what is it that caught your attention, or what is it that you want to know more about? And they'll bring it up. I see something about energy, or they'll bring it up as pain, or they'll identify. Now you know what question you want to ask next. Well, tell me about what you've done for your pain in the past. Why do I ask that question? Because I don't want to present something and then have them argue with me about why it won't work, because they've already tried something similar. You need to see what is on top of their mind. Many people don't even know what's on top of their mind until they come in with their quote argument or pushback. So don't look too eager. Just say, so tell me about your pain. Tell me about what you've tried before, because those are real easy questions. Now, some people are afraid that person's just going to go ramble and tell them a big story, and that's all really possible. However, as you grow your finesse, you're able to come in and make some comments and then steer it away. But that's what we're talking about today. You're creating a buying space. So this person's got everything on top of the table. You know where they're vulnerable. Now you start saying, well, would you value this? You somehow bring value into it. Are they looking for peace of mind? Are they looking for a better appearance? What are all the things they're looking for that really fit Maslow's hierarchy? So when you can understand what they value, now you can start referencing and framing your product. But before you just jump in with a solution, and I am a solution-based person, let me tell you, I can jump with the best of them. Okay, so let me show you this. And I have an inner part of me that is like pulling on the reins of a horse to not jump to conclusions and to Sandra's laughing. Would I describe you, Sandra? and just to say questions like, well, tell me more, or what have you thought of, or what have you tried? And it's not answer time yet. You know what it is? It's time to restate what they said. So what I understand is that you've really been looking a long time for this type of a solution, and you'd really like it because it would do this, this, and this. And then you get an agreement from them. And then they agree. And then you ask permission. See, you think you're in charge. That customer's in charge. You let them be in charge because you're creating a buying space for them. The thing you want at the end is the ka-ching, right? There is no ka-ching if you don't give the customer some value and some honor. So you say, so what I understand is you might like this. Do you agree? And they say, yes. So I'd like to explain this. And now you're in to the presentation of your product, why you think this would work, whatever, but everything has to relate back to what they gave you in the beginning. So see, most people treat sales like it's a fishing expedition, and they ask too many closed-ended questions. And then there's no nice finesse into the close of the sale. And so to create a buying space is an art form. The people who can do that do it really, really well. And, I've been doing it a long time. So you asked me in the beginning, Rennie, about online marketing. Online marketing is tough because it doesn't have that opportunity for the sales conversation. So when I run any of my trainings, I try to run group coachings. and like do 40-day intensives, because most of the challenge is getting everybody's mindset into perspectives like what I just talked about. We work really long and deep on helping them get into that, because everybody's comfort level is different. But they've been trained in marketing where you expect instant oatmeal because you had a funnel and it just walks them into making a choice, a yes or a no, or you get them on your email list. Well, that is a strategy that's very necessary, but it's marketing, it's not selling. And so many people nowadays think that marketing is selling. And therein lies the problem. So the art form of sales and then is missing. And there's not many people who talk about it the way I do. So I have a select audience. I'd love to have a larger audience, but I have a select audience because everybody wants to, if you go to take a look at the standard sales trainings, they work on how to close, how to handle objections. There are no objections. There are no objections. Objections are simply questions that have not been answered. So the next part, as you're presenting the product, if anything comes up, first of all, salespeople have to train themselves to not hear a question as an objection. It's not time to fight. It's not a time to have a rebuttal. It's not to say, it's to lose the word called but. And always come back with, so help me understand again, you said this and this. So did I leave something out here for you? Or is there another piece of information we should talk about that would help you? So give it back to them. Give them the power. See, everybody's afraid that a question is the buyer trying to take the power. Nope. The seller, the quieter they are, the less they say until the buyer's ready to listen, is the person in the seat of power. The listener is always in the seat of power. I always laugh at myself when I say this, because here I am talking this whole time, telling you how to listen. And my brain does this disconnect every time I do that. So, but anyway, tell me, we've got a lot of time, but this is my nut. And then, so if you take the, what am I trying to say? If you take those questions, those objections, you may find yourself going back into the middle about something you forgot, or you want to requalify something. But usually if you do that really, really well, and I've been doing this over 50 years, if you do this really, really well, you will walk into a sale every time. You just have to say, it sounds like you're ready to go. And you just set it up. So I don't teach you closing techniques, but I teach you opening techniques. Because if you can get to create the buying space the right way, you have a greater percentage of things to either close the sale now or close the next appointment. That's the big thing that everybody makes the mistake about. They think that they got to happen now. That's the other thing that the online industry has created, is it's like, I got to make a sale in 15 minutes. No, there's no such thing as a sale in 15 minutes. There's nothing slam dunk. Because if we're in the relationship building world, then we have to figure that out. So I can always do more, and I have more, but ask me some questions, because that's the nut of creating the buying space without a lot of training details.
I love this this topic, because I think that for me, my trouble is, for example, I can sell if it's for charity or for something that's not for me. Like in college, I could, this fundraising, they're selling turkey sandwich. It was at Stanislaus. Do you know where that is? Marla, since you're
Yeah.
from California. I went to Cal State Stanislaus. That's where my undergraduate studied. They do this fundraising. Turlock is known for their turkey somehow, and they sell turkey sandwich. And I would knock on professors' doors. I would sell sandwiches, and I sold the most always, raised the most money. Same thing with Girl Scout cookies for my daughters, but that's for charity. But if it's like sales, if in my head, I think of it as being selling, then I can't do it because I think I make assumption in my head. I was afraid of the rejection. I was afraid people saying no. I was afraid people would, don't want my product because I go in with that attitude, with that assumption. You're saying about creating the buying space and being yourself and all of that stuff. And I'm not like that because I would be really nervous if I know that I'm going in to sell as opposed to trying to raise money for this needy whatever or
You
for
know,
good cause.
we're selling all the time. So I think the myth in everyone's head, Marini, and thank you for this question, because I don't have a good answer. I have some thoughts. But there's something about the way some people believe that they should be selfless, that you can't be selfless, you can't help others unless you know how to take care of yourself. And so to me, selling comes into the part of knowing how to take care of yourself. Because we are always selling. We sell ourselves to get a job. We sell ourselves in a way to our neighbors and friends when we create a community. We're not selling intentionally, but we're selling because we're always presenting ourselves. We're presenting our best behavior. We're presenting our ideas. We're presenting our thoughts. We work at persuading people all the time about a variety of things. So the word sales has gotten a bad name because how everybody sees it as it's icky to ask for money. So I think it comes into the abundance mindset and the manifesting mindset, and it's a piece that people carry around, that it's a bad thing to ask for money. And so it's rooted in so many places that selling is just the top of the mountain. Like, if you're going to sell, you got to ask. And so
you're right, because everything is sales, including even when you work 9 to 5, when you talk to your boss, you're doing a project or anything, it's
right.
sales.
If you have to work with a team of people and you're collaboration is great, but collaboration doesn't mean agreement. I could collaborate with you and still agree to disagree with you. But I might choose to support you because that seems to be the best path at now, and I don't have a better solution. But the selling piece is just, it's been so many years where it's about a hard pitch. I had been selling 10 years before I took my first sales class. I'd put my husband through college. I'd made commissions. I'd salaried, whatever it was, but I was always selling or leasing something. And then I go to work for Coldwell Banker. They send me to LA for a sales training class. It's all guys. And it's just like being in the locker room for a week. This is years before any of this stuff came down that everybody has rules about. And I knew how to handle myself with them. But I'm listening to how they're pitching, and I'm going, I've sold for 10 years and I never used one of those tactics. So I think I was lucky in the sense that I had a father that was a salesperson, 50 years, and he was on the road 60,000 miles a year. He was wholesale sales. And then my mother was a guidance counselor, and somehow how those two communicated and how I learned to communicate, I know I was blessed with some additional benefits. And my grandfather and grandmother were both in sales and ran their own business. So I just observed people long before other people observed people, and I intuitively picked up things that I've been trying to put into words for people for a long time.
Let's go around and ask everyone here about their questions. Marla, I'm sorry I interrupted
No, go ahead.
your thoughts. Sue, what are your thoughts on this sales topic?
Oh, I'm 100% in sales, pretty much all day, every day. I'm an interior designer. So I'm selling ideas and I'm selling products. So it's both. And early in my career, it was harder for me to do the money topic. Now I kind of lead with it, because the bottom line is I can't begin to put together a plan for someone's home without knowing what their budget is, right?
Yeah.
So what was once uncomfortable for me is now I'm very comfortable with it because I have to be successful. And have to have those conversations right off the bat. And it actually makes people more comfortable because they realize, oh, okay, I can do what I want within this budget. And I give them guidelines and parameters, and I give them a reality of, hey, sometimes your budget doesn't match your expectations, but at least they know. And when people know and have an understanding and feel heard, they're much more open to doing their projects. Listening is my number one priority. Listen, listen, listen. And I mentor a lot of young designers, and I really coach them heavily on listening, because if you just listen, your clients tell you exactly what they want.
All the time.
It's so easy. And people are like, and my client, we get a project done. They're like, oh my gosh, it's just exactly what I had pictured. How did you get into my head? And I'm thinking, well, you literally told me everything you wanted. It wasn't hard. I just listened. It's that simple.
I know.
Listen.
Yeah.
And
Good. I mean,
that is the key to my success. As the number one designer in Southwest Washington, is I listen. It really comes down to that one word, listening.
yeah.
Did you find out?
You talked about that. That's really, really
Yeah.
cool, and that's so important.
Yeah.
Did you find out, because you're in your business, interior design, that you're not working with people who doesn't know about your product, because they seek you out, they want some design, so they already in the mindset of they want to buy design or something advice. So in other words, the customer is the different type of customer, where you're not going to somebody blindly.
It is. I'm not doing cold calls. So, that either they've seen my website or someone's referred them. So there's not the cold calling, and that's a whole different type of selling. Completely different.
Yeah, it is. And so that's why I talk about creating the buying space, just like you do yourself. I mean, definitely when people come to see you, they're their intention, the buyer's there with an intention. So you are absolutely perfect to start where you started. When we're online marketing, we have to always ask the question, well, what did you see? Like, did they see it? Are they responding to a post, a funnel, what? And then you at least know where your front door is, but you still have to understand what made them walk through the front door. And so that's exactly what you're doing, Sue, and it's great. That is the easier kind.
Because
I actually prefer what Sue's doing.
It is the easier selling. And yes, it is selling. And selling ideas is, there is that personal, like, you got to have thick skin, right? You're selling your ideas. You got to walk in with confidence, because people smell weakness. They just know. And I'm dealing with some high net worth, very successful people. So I got to walk in with as much confidence as they have. I got to match their confidence level, or I'll be slayed. So
definitely,
there is that air of confidence, but it really, again, it comes down to listening.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Sandra. Oh, Marla, you were going to say something.
No, that's okay. Fine. I'll summarize later.
I'm just loving this conversation. First, I love that you've been doing this for over 50 years, because we're both old farts then. And it takes me back. I started off in sales, particularly in London Life, doing life insurance.
And oh my gosh, that's even worse, selling life insurance.
Turns out to be the highest stress commission sales you can have. You're going to sign somebody up and promise them some money when they're dead. It hardly fits. But I'm loving this because, and Sue, you've just touched me as well. The whole idea of this online drives me crazy. I'm such a people person that to try and get it all put together online has been my biggest challenge. Well, and so I'm really appreciating Marla. You were talking the same language. I remember so long ago learning, he who speaks first loses. So when my mind had been going, zip it, Sandra, zip it.
But how to convert the online is to know that it's still your goal to get them into a conversation. And most people aren't even open to conversations anymore because they've forgotten how nice it can be, the seller and the buyer. But most buyers, if they're really in need, they will sit there with you and have the conversation. So always have your calendar ready and let them book an appointment with you for at least 30 minutes. Everybody says do 15 minutes. I do 30 minutes. Because if I can't do that, there's no way that with the way I work that I'm going to do anything in 15 minutes, except what I hate to do. And so in 30 minutes, then if we need more time, then I negotiate that. And
Okay.
so to just shift this, and do you have an automatic calendar set up, Sandra, where if people are approaching you, you can offer time?
I have it available. I don't know how to use it very well. So I'm really good at booking into somebody else's calendar, but sending out my own throws me a curve. Technology in me. I've got to change my attitude on technology.
Calendly's real easy, so you can get a hold of me later and I'll kind of help you with that if you want.
I think it's TidyCal that I'm using, which I think is just as easy, but I have to learn.
Just set up challenge yourself today to set up one 30-minute appointment booking. That's the only link you use, and just send it and see if you start getting people.
I'll be in touch. I just sent you a request.
That's awesome. Mary Ann has been on this call from the beginning. Do you have any questions, Mary Ann? What are your thoughts about sales or marketing?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Marla. Everything that you say, over 100% agreeing with. I am also a realtor, and I did 13 months of real estate coaching, and asking the right question was the main thing that I learned from that. And you're absolutely right. Rather than, just pitching and the thing, just learn what they want and just guide them. It's all about sale is service.
Yes, very, very much so. I was in property management for 20 years of my life, and so I met people I managed their investment properties, and we had to lease properties, and I managed about 3,000 doors. And I was trying to diversify, and I thought, oh, I'll sell real estate because I'm licensed. And I had some clients, and we went out on that, and I realized very quickly I didn't want to sell real estate. I loved what I was doing, and real estate wasn't it. But here was the thing that you just said, Miriam, that's the gold, is they told me all the things they liked, and I was seriously knew how to start finding the houses, and I couldn't. But they loved wallpapers. They said, we don't mind if it has wallpaper. So we walked into this one house. The minute we walked into the door, I knew it was their house. We didn't even see the rest of the house because the whole hallway was wallpapered. Every room was wallpapered and it was all cutesy stuff, not my style at all. And I knew one step in the door that they were going to buy that, because that ticked all the boxes. And because in every other house they talked about where they were going to put up wallpaper, and in this one it was done. So you're right, we just have to listen and we have to serve. And even though we don't like it, take them where they want to go.
And that applies to any business, applies to
Yes.
any service, applies to everything. You're
Right.
absolutely right, and I'm glad to be here and hearing what you're saying.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. It's really helpful for me to listen to this conversation. I think I'm putting a lot of stress on myself before going out because I keep thinking it's sales. So it's like this subconscious thing, like a
And
mental block.
so I'm going to tell
But-
you this, until you have a buyer, you have nothing to sell. That's why it's your job to create the buyer. So if you see every person as an opportunity to create a buyer or not to create a buyer, you have the choice, and you're back in the power seat. But you don't you don't see every person as a sale. You say, I wonder if this is a buyer. Let's see, let's have a conversation. Let's see if they're a buyer.
I
Try
see.
that on, see if that doesn't shift for you.
Sounds good. Lachelle.
I missed most of it, but I heard the discussion and I'm so excited because I've had sales issues, but it wasn't until one of my coaches says, every day when you're jockeying for the bathroom, you're selling. So you're selling every day with your family, every single thing you do. And so when I realized that, it makes sales a little bit easier. I'm still a little hesitant like this, but I'm still leaning in and still working and trying. And so I really appreciate you, Marla. And I'm going to go back and listen to it again and again.
Thanks.
I love it.
I've trained a few thousand salespeople.
Yeah.
And not everybody always agreed with what I was saying to them. But the ones who were really like on the intimidation scale with it, I can walk them all out of it. And I've just done a 40-day intensive with some people. And last week, week 5, or session 5, the end of week 4, I could see the light bulbs coming on. They'd finally crossed this threshold of what all the things were that were getting in their way. And so even though I was teaching them skills, it takes about 4 weeks of just breaking it down in little smaller pieces than even I did today, to help everybody get to the point where it's like, oh, okay, and the lights come on and the stress is gone and now they're having fun.
Well,
Yeah,
it's funny because I had signed up for Grant Cardone because I saw he was like a master seller. And when I found out that his team, who are like, they're like sharks, they call all the time and they're relentless. But what I realized is they practice every single day. And when I realized that, it's just like any other muscle. You just practice it and you get better. And so like you said, it's like getting through that 4-week wall barrier, and just having a buddy to practice with is so powerful. But
I don't sell like Grant Cardone at all.
Oh, I know. You're like, well, it's funny because I have a friend who's a really great saleswoman. I mean, I have 2 friends that are really great saleswomen, and both of them could sell ice to an Eskimo and make them feel good about it and then feel like it was a good thing. And I was talking to the one yesterday and she goes, people say I'm really good at sales. She goes, but I've never sold a thing in my life. She's like, I just talk about what I love and I don't have to sell it. It sells itself because I only put my name behind things that I love and that I believe in. I'm like,
well, and I'm the
that's
same.
So true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when you said that, I'm like, oh, she's just like my friend.
Mm-hmm. And I can just about sell anything. My heart has to be in it though. I mean, if I'm not invested in the product, I don't sell it.
Yep.
So
That's
everything
exactly
that
how
I
she
sell
is.
usually has to have a really strong connection to me. So when people come to me and say, sell this is like, if I'm not a buy-in, I'm not the seller.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much, Marla.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's so true, isn't it? You have to believe in the product. Otherwise, it would be so hard to sell. And, not only are you trying to get rid of your limiting beliefs, now you have to fight about the product. So you really need to believe what you're selling. Otherwise, your success rate would be very, very low. Suzanne, let's hear it from you. I know you were trying to
Yeah, I
create this
apologize for the extra noise. I was trying to switch over to this. So here's my lovely situation. When I went into BTI, I had been 8 years of therapy, and I knew therapy wasn't working to me. So when I went into Brave Thinking Institute, I was a buy-in because I really believed in the product. But now I work with autistic women who have been scammed as much as I have, and they believe that the only people who can help them, but they're not helping them because I left therapy personally, and I found my answers at BTI. So I'm trying to get women who have Medicare that pays for therapy and people with alphabet soup after their names, even though I know it doesn't work. Life coaching worked for me. So I'm trying to sell them on life coaching versus therapy. And they're not budging because for some reason they think that a doctor, because they can use Medicare with a doctor, they can't use Medicare with a life coach. That's their only answer. And then they wonder why their life isn't working. So I'm trying to find the special words to help them understand that, yeah, you can go through therapy for the rest of your life, but when I can tell you that I walked your journey and I can sell you on the same positive result that I have, why not? Oh, Oh, I don't know.
So Suzanne, I'm going to propose a thought here, and this is for everybody. So let me just try to work this out in my head, because you pose the common question, and I'm going to tell you the key words you said. You said, I don't know the words. And I don't want any of you to know the words. I want you to know the questions. So it's like Sue said. Sue said she starts with, what's your budget? So what you have to do, Suzanne, is start out with, so what's working for you now? Out of the therapy you have, please tell me 3 things that have worked for you.
I like
Now,
that.
if they can only come up with 1 or 2, that's fine. Don't make them wrong. And then say, so what hasn't worked for you? Now you're going to find the bucket of all the stuff that they want to do. Don't jump in with an answer. Don't jump in. What have you thought of trying that is different from what you're doing so you can get those results you want?
I love that.
Stop being the answer person.
Right.
And so it's just like Sue designing for her designers. She's asking them how they want to design a room. You're asking people how they want to design their life. And if people want to design their life around something that continuously does not work, so see, you're a designer of a lifestyle for people with the alphabet soup. So what you want to do is go back in and say, so tell me what is working with your current therapy. What would you like it to do better, or what is not working, whatever feels comfortable with that person. Then have them say, so what have you thought of or tried to get that piece that's not working? Okay. And when they say, I don't know, then say, well, if I hear you right, you want this, this, and this. Would you be open to having a discussion about that? So get out of the pitch, get into the conversation.
I like that. Yes, that's helpful. Very helpful. Thank you. It's
Yeah.
I gotta get them to show up for themselves too, because
But you know what? Okay, so I'm going to add this. You're
Yeah,
good.
no,
Thank
please.
you. You're feeding me, girl.
yeah, no, this is exactly what I need.
So, as a trainer and an educator for over 50 years, the best coaching I ever got was from some young whippersnapper boss. He said, Marla, you see everybody's potential. You know everybody's potential. But he says, you can't be there for them more than they are there for themselves. And this is where women in general get themselves into trouble. They want to help everyone. Nope. You want to help everyone stand on their own 2 feet.
Mhm.
And run away from people who say, I want to help you, and not expect you to stand on your own 2 feet. The job is for us to help people stand on their own 2 feet. And so this is a problem in general with therapy and some other things that are out there. When I started therapy years ago, when I hadn't grieved for my mother, she died really early and suddenly. And it was like, I ran 4 years, didn't even know I had pushed down my grief. And it was beginning to affect my life, my health, my stress, everything. But the first thing I did is, my impression of therapists at that time of my life was that you had to stay with them for a lifetime. The first question I asked her, I says, do you ever believe people get things resolved so they don't have to stay with you for a lifetime? And she looked at me and she was impressed with the question, but she says, oh my God, nobody's ever asked me that, but hell no, I don't want you in my life forever. And I went, oh, this is my therapist, So it's kind of the same thing for you. Be sure you're not offering yourselves, any of us need to be sure we are not offering ourselves as a crutch.
Mhm.
That is not our job, to be somebody else's crutch. It is our job to be the eagle that pushes them out of the nest.
Mm. I like that a lot. Oh, that's super. You're the first person who's turned that conversation around, because I've been looking and saying, okay, I need to help him.
I'm a contrarian. Always, if the whole group is believing it this way, I go, what's the other side?
Mhm.
I can't buy the common conversation. Oh, you girls just opened up a door. I hope you're giving me permission, Rennie. Thank you, Sue.
Well,
I want to talk about, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to talk about the word empowerment. It is nothing that we should be using. Empower is a personal word. I might feel empowered to talk to you today about all the things that are important to me, but nobody gave me that. And anytime I read marketing in which it is implied, I will empower you, run away. That is somebody offering you a crutch. We provide the environments, each of us, Sue for design, to let people feel empowered about how they want their house to look and how to feel. And you, Suzanne, with what you're doing, you want people to feel empowered to take control. But when we want people to feel empowered, that means that they also are self-resourced. And the word empowered has been used incorrectly since the mid-1980s. And it's created a victim culture. So there's my opinion. You can all argue with me, but that's where I live. And so thank you, Suzanne, because you just affirmed for me that this is just how I live my life. And I can't handle it. I have a gag reflex with that word.
Yeah, no, that's excellent, because that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to get these women to celebrate their own wins.
Okay, so
And when they acknowledge their own wins,
stop trying. Celebrate your wins. And when they get sick and tired of hearing you celebrate your wins, they might want to just say, if they start coming back at you and say, well, you're always just bragging. It's like, well, you could brag too. Tell me what's going on in your life. See, this is where women, we get defensive. Like, we shouldn't be out there saying it like it is. Girls, say it like it is.
I love this. I love this conversation because we're trying to solve other people's problem all the time. You're offering things, you're telling them what to do, and that's not what they want.
Stop telling. I'll come back on sometime, Rennie, if you want, and we'll talk about how people make decisions, the decision styles. And I did post a link out there because I do have it in a little video course, or you can follow me on YouTube. But I am a direct person. I knew that. I've had to learn a long time ago how to couch that nicely. And I like the expression about Teddy Roosevelt where he says, walk softly, but carry a big stick. But you don't use the stick. But I do use a velvet 2x4. And so if Suzanne were to come to me, and she's not, Suzanne, thank you for letting me play off of you. But if Suzanne were to come to me,
go for it.
And she repeated herself the same way 3 times and never heard what I said, then I would say, Suzanne, I've said this to you 3 times. You don't hear it. Don't have another conversation with me until you shifted your conversation. Now, I wouldn't quite say it that way, but it would be humorous, and I would do it because it would be like, girlfriend, you hear yourself, you're a broken record. And so my friends, the people that do it, so this is why I have a select audience. You have to be ready for a little bit of tough love, but we all need to be ready for some tough love if we want to go to the next step.
Yeah, love this. Yeah, let's go to Faith and then Omeka so we could hear from everyone. Faith, your thoughts about this?
Yes, this is actually a really good conversation for most of us because we are in sales by one way or another, even if it is trying to sell a nonprofit idea or a program you designed or real estate or even yourself to get a job. And I have I was a real estate agent and I failed miserably, and I had a hard time holding people accountable. You know, you need to learn to do that, step into that. And the other thing is, I didn't like the way the majority of the real estate agents sold or sell real estate. It made me feel dirty and gross. And I would never be sold by a bot or automatic thing because I do like the personal interactions. And everybody here seen Finding Nemo? You know where the seagulls are on the dock and some food falls and they all go, mine, 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 mine. That to me was like the real estate market. That's how realtors were acting. And I didn't want to be that. I actually worked in a bank and was a mortgage broker before I became a real estate agent. And I was also a teacher. And I knew that 60% of the households in the United States are single moms. And I also knew how often they got in trouble because rent would rise or the house would sell or the car would break down and it just would deep six them. So I created a program to help single moms be home buyers because when you own a home, it changes your life. It changes your kid's life. It changes the whole picture and you can start to get stability. So I took all the information that I knew from the background and I made a course to help what has turned out to be the working poor, but was helping working moms who were teachers or policemen or nurses or firemen. Because in my state in the South, all those people basically only get about 38,000 a year. And so I knew loans very well, like the back of my hand, and continued to stay educated and up to date on them. And I used government loans and all my education to help single moms become home buyers. And that meant I taught them how to make a budget. I repaired their credit. I stacked their loan. I plugged them into every grant program in the community. And 9 times out of 10, I was able to help those single moms buy a house at 100%. Like no dime out of their pocket is what the $500 they put down on the house. And then I got everything else covered. And I'm happy to say that the majority of them are still in their house because their payment doesn't change. It gives them stability and nice houses. But that took a long time. And because I didn't charge for the work up front, and I had a friend who told me more than one, if you don't charge for your work, people aren't going to value it. And I was like, no, it's good stuff. There's no way. But I got messed about with a lot of people. Like I'd fix them up. And then the next thing you know, some slick mine realtor comes by and says, well, I'm the top selling realtor. You should really deal with me. After I put in 9 months or maybe a year to fix them up.
So do you value yourself now?
No, I hate myself more than ever.
Well, so
I mean, it did the opposite. It's like, oh my God, maybe I don't have any value.
so you
Although the
have
truth
you
is
have
in the
val
truth.
you have value. You've already proved it. So what you want to do is to start looking for yourself and helping yourself say, I have value. I've done this. I could do this again. How do I want to do it? So maybe the first person that you're looking at selling is yourself. Sell yourself on you, and then you'll be ready to sell yourself on other people. So I really admire what you've done. You've done a really, really great job. And that is so much energy. So I really encourage you to think more highly of yourself, because I'm thinking very highly of you now. And that takes a lot to do that. I wouldn't have taken the time. So I'm appreciating you, and I want you to appreciate yourself. And we know there's sleazeballs in the world. Just be grateful you're not one.
I am. I'm happy not to be a sleazeball, but I would
bless
like
you.
to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Faith, for sharing that. Omeka, we're almost running out of time here. We have a few more minutes. Omeka, wonderful
Yeah,
Omeka.
hey everyone. Walking the dog again. Yeah. Um, Yeah, wow. Yeah, I definitely will be listening more than one time as well and taking some notes. With the mental notes. Yeah. My thing is, or my stuckness or my hesitation is, well, whether it's making a list or opening the phone and calling someone, I really feel like I need to record what I need to say so I can hear it over and over again and feel good about it. And I figure the things that I'm doing are helping people. I mean, whether it's credit repair or, straight in their fiat currency or health products. I really do believe in them. So that's a beautiful thing. And they work for me. I'm not really trying to make them work for somebody else, but yeah, the search, which is really the attraction, and learning how to just be myself. And thousands of people are following me for some reason. So figure out why they're following me on Facebook would be a great thing. Maybe I can help them out. But anyway, asking questions. Yeah. Learning how to do that.
Open-ended.
Yeah.
Everybody record yourself for a few times during the day and see, like if you're in a conversation or whatever, remember the questions you ask. And 99% of questions have the answer included. So a pure open-ended question is really tough to get to, where it is just tell me what had you call me today, because they could have called yesterday, they could have called the day before or the day later, but they called today. What prompted your call today? And then go into, just always use the phrase, tell me more when you can, because what people tell you in the first surface answer to it's not deep enough. I got to tell you, there's more stuff down there. So peel the layers. So if you guys can stay in questioning, there's going to be a point your brain's going to go, okay, got something, I can work with this and go on. So trust your intuition.
Yes, thank you. And tell me more. I got that. Okay. Because I like to let them answer and that's it. It's like, no, this is a, conversation. It's a process and it's a learning each other. So yeah, thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Have a
much.
great day.
You too. This has been such a great conversation. Marla, we need to invite you back. I'm scheduling for next year soon because the calendar is full through the end of the year. But Marla, this is such a great, especially for me, I know, and many of you probably learned from Marla, and everybody can learn from you. And thank you everyone for your participation and contribution. Marla, we're going to invite you back. Next week, Julie Aird is going to be speaking about fulfillment. Heart-led living is the key to fulfillment. That's the topic for next week. But Marla, do you have your last word before we part here?
Just don't see it as selling. If nothing else, switch it to, it's not a pitch, it's not a presentation, it's a conversation. And you all know how to do conversations. And remember, if you were having coffee with a friend, you'd open it up with, tell me what you've been doing. So all you're doing is shifting the sales conversation to, tell me what prompted you to connect with me today, or what prompted you to respond to this, or what did that. So just, it's the coffee conversation with just a little bit of shift.
That's awesome. And stop this pressure in my head.
Stop the chatter. Stop the chatter.
Thank you so much. It's been
Okay.
so helpful.
Thank you.
And thank you again, everyone, and hope to see you next week. Have a great week. Have a great weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.